My name is Greg Constantine, and I'm a freelance photographer. The exhibition and the project Nowhere People basically documents the impacts that statelessness and the denial of citizenship have on people, and particularly entire communities around the world. Statelessness is an issue that really not many people know much about. It's an issue that is starting to gain a lot of attention from the international community, from governments to policymakers to the human rights community. Because so many aspects of it are very technical and legal, one thing that kind of seems to have gotten lost in the conversation about statelessness worldwide is the impact that it has on people in their daily lives. And so that's kind of where my role comes in and where my project comes in. It tries to provide evidence and tangible proof of evidence of who these people are and the impacts that the denial of citizenship and statelessness have on their daily lives. Statelessness constructs kind of obstacles and boundaries that a lot of people find overwhelming. It really, in a lot of ways, makes it next to impossible for kind of how I describe people to be able to navigate through life today, in the sense that stateless people are oftentimes denied really vital documents such as birth certificates, passports, driver's licenses, and because of that it ends up having a snowball effect on what happens to them in the future, meaning that because they don't have birth certificates or denied birth certificates, they can't provide the documentation that would allow them to go to school or to get a job or legal employment or to be able to enter into a government building or to get a driver's license. It also denies them the ability to travel freely from one place to the next to find work, to secure housing. One of the things that people don't realize about statelessness is a lot of issues that people are talking about today, quite often, whether it be child labor or forced migration or human trafficking. A lot of these issues have their root cause in statelessness. If you don't have an identity, it makes you vulnerable to any number of these kind of high-profile abuses that the international community pays a lot of attention to. And so what my work has tried to do is to try to show the byproducts that statelessness has in the sense of child labor, forced migration, conflict, any number of different kind of social issues that are caused by the denial of citizenship and statelessness and the lack of identity and belonging to a country. Probably one of the most tragic elements of statelessness that most people don't recognize is the denial of an identity. Most stateless people are stateless in the country of their birth. They've never left the place where they were born, yet they're denied the right to belong to that birthplace. Statelessness is an inherited quality. It's an inherited condition. It passes from one generation to the next. And a lot of stateless communities around the world have been stateless for many, many decades. And because of that, generations of people within the same community feel like they don't belong. It's the denial of having your language, your culture, your historical heritage recognized by the larger fabric of society is something that really ends up having a huge effect on people's psyche and motivation and communities as well. So it is a big component to what statelessness is. In 2008, the Urdu-speaking community in Bangladesh was extended nationality by the Bangladesh government. Even though my pictures were taken while they were stateless, I think it's important now to be able to show that after generations of having been denied and excluded a lot of opportunities, it will now take a generation or two for this particular community, or for a lot of stateless communities, to kind of develop themselves in a way that's actually equal and competitive and on par with the communities around them that have been afforded citizenship for decades and decades. So this is just one example of a positive kind of story of a community that was stateless that is now has nationality but is still struggling to kind of be a part of a larger community. We completely take for granted the empowerment that we have as being citizens of a state, and the connection and the rights that go along with that connection. And there's, an estimated over 12 million people in the world today that are denied that fundamental right, that don't have those opportunities. And there's generations within those communities that are disempowered and marginalized, such to the extent to where they really have very little voice. And so what I hope people do is when they come to the exhibition, the exhibition not only shows shows them that this is a global problem. It's not just something that's in far-flung areas around the world, but it is something that you find on every single continent. And, you know, there's mechanisms that certain governments need to put in place to help alleviate the issue of statelessness. I hope that people come to the exhibition and are able to at least kind of connect on a human level to a lot of these communities around the world, and also have a better understanding of their histories and this very kind of complex and issue of statelessness that is growing in importance and attention around the world.